How does an idea become words? And words become a story? How? And that story, when does it become something greater than the words alone? When does a story transcend an incident, affecting, shifting, shaping culture? When? When does a single story take on a life of its own, become viral, and forever change the face of our world?
This was the kind of story that starts with a kind of, in some ways, routine tip from a source. Cynthia Hubert got a call from somebody saying that a mentally ill man had just shown up at Loaves and Fishes and had nothing, and said that he had been shipped there by the Ross and Neal Psychiatric Hospital in Las Vegas. And it sounded kind of horrifying, actually. He didn't know anybody, he needed treatment, and he said they had told him to call 911 to get help when he arrived, and that he would enjoy sunny California. So we didn't know if it was true or not, and it started a year's worth of reporting, and what we found was a path around the country of 1,500 patients over 5 years who had been sent to cities with very little medication, no supervision of any kind, no plan for treatment. Families didn't know that they would show up on their door. There were some families with restraining orders for patients who were particularly violent. They weren't prepared for that. All kinds of personal hardship with families and with the patients. These are really vulnerable people who are ill. And more than that, there was an impact on communities around the country. As we got deeper into the reporting, we discovered that there was a trail of crime that followed these men and women as they landed in different cities around the country, including murder in one case and attempted murder in another. There was a sex offender. Mostly there was a lot of homelessness and a lot of the petty crime that comes with homelessness. So when we started this reporting, Ross and Neal just denied that they would do anything like that. And once we were able to get our hands on records that showed that they had bought 1,500 Greyhound bus tickets over 5 years and sent people everywhere. And then they started singing a different tune. Once we showed through our reporting that they had essentially helped some people skip town who had charges pending, then the governor finally got involved and said he was setting up a group to review everything and report back at a high level what had happened. One of the most important things, I think, from our reporting is that the Nevada State Legislature finally appropriated more money so that the hospital could afford to keep people and give them the kind of treatment that they needed.
You know, obviously the Kennedy assassination was the most dramatic news event that has happened in the Dallas-Fort Worth area in the last 50 years. And part of what we wanted to do was to show exactly what happened in Fort Worth, because everybody remembers what happens in Dallas. But not so many people know that Kennedy spent his last night in Fort Worth. Kennedy made his last speech in Fort Worth.
I appreciate your being here this morning.
And it really was kind of a love-in. You know, Jackie and Jack were big celebrities. It was like the Beatles coming to town. And we wanted to kind of reflect to our audience that feeling of what happened, and of course the tragedy that happened in Dallas the next day.
As a columnist, I was to add my personal point of view, my memories of the period, as well as my memories of seeing Fort Worth change since then. So the emphasis of my column, as was the emphasis in Fort Worth, and the emphasis of the tribute that is there now in memory of Kennedy, was the emphasis on life, not death. Because he was here alive. Just trying to go back in time and reminding them of what we were like as a people and, how we grew as a community afterward.
25 years ago, the Fort Worth Star-Telegram did a special section, and there was a photo, faces in the crowd, taken. John F. Kennedy was here, and the crowd. And many of the people in the crowd were identified, their names and what made them want to go. And so 50 years after the fact, we went and tracked down as many people as we could.
I had gone down to the school and asked if it was okay for me to take the children out of school because I was going to take them downtown to see Kennedy because I knew he, was going to be there.
We asked readers if they remembered where they were, especially in Fort Worth, to contact us. We sent it out throughout social media, Twitter, Facebook, as well as on our website and in the physical paper. And the responses we received, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of emails. There were so many people who just remembered where they were and wanted to share what it meant to them to see him or how his death impacted them. And they wanted to talk about it.
Now, that component, like a number of other components that we came across in looking at other special sections through the years, we found things like double trucks in which there were map treatments showing spot by spot. Kennedy and Jackie, every place they went became an amazing component on the tablet after our digital team and designers got hold of it. At each stop, you could roll over and get the basic information of what happened, and then where we could find video and audio, we were able to overlay that as well.
He landed at Carswell Air Force Base. 10,000 people turned out. It was one of the most wonderful evenings. People, it was like the circus had come to town. They were so excited to see him.
We did print 2 special editions for readers. One was pages from 50 years ago, printed on wide paper just like it was back in the day. But I think the best thing we did was all the digital work we did, that you could go to a website and see the motorcade and who was in the motorcade and exactly where the shots came from. So we always want to make sure that we offer both platforms. That's our advantage, is we can do digital, and yet we still have a big press we can print things on too. So I think it really taught us that that we have an advantage maybe over the TV stations and others because of some of the things that we could do with our newspaper too.
Well, last year started off as everybody expected to have a decent year, but nobody started the year saying Final Four. It was just not on anybody's page. But it started out as a pretty good year. The team won some pretty good games, and really where we would put our fingers on to say you could feel an elevated spike in Wichita really wasn't until they got to the championship game of the Missouri Valley Conference Tournament and played Creighton. So when Wichita State gets in the tournament and they play Pitt in the first round, well, it was not just that they won a game, but they won in a very dominating way. And that's when you could really start feeling people saying, we may be going somewhere. Wichita State aspires to be Gonzaga, that mid-major power that is respected and has to be watched by other teams. And so who's coming along in the next game? Wichita State's playing Gonzaga. And Gonzaga is the #1 seed in the tournament. And when Wichita State beat Gonzaga in that game, it was just a euphoria everywhere in the community, every place. And beat LaSalle, beat Ohio State. And so by that time, far more than half of our staff had some role in covering this in some way. We just had to throw everything we had at it. We were doing live in-game chats, chats on off days through Cover It Live. Using social media, our sports writer has a blog.
Wichita State's ride to the Final Four is definitely not something you plan for, so our team had to work very quickly together, and we brainstormed some more, and we were able to develop our plan. And everything from capturing t-shirt sales to the book that we published to cheer cards that we had available at the games to posters that we sold in our lobby, to the special sections that we published as well.
It's just so many platforms to manage and so much demand for any place we could be that it was very, very different. It was one of those things where the community just rallied around the team, a thread that tied the entire community together, brought everyone together of like mind about one thing. And the Eagles' goal was to be there, tell that story, be a part of it, and do right by it. And that's what we wanted to do.
There is no small story. Such a thing simply doesn't exist. We dig, we search, we investigate, relentless in pursuit of the truth. And these stories, our stories, change lives forever. Together, we are McClatchy.